Assalamu'alaikum, warahmatullahi, wabarakatuh. I trust everyone watching this is well. So today we'll just be jumping into the topic of jihad. Okay. So the concept of jihad in Islam is often misunderstood and misrepresented. So in Islamic teachings, jihad means to struggle or striving, right? In the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously. So it does not solely refer to the armed conflict, but encompasses a broader range of efforts to uphold both faith as well as justice. So most people tend to think immediately jihad, okay, physical altercations, war, violence, which that is one specific type of jihad, but that's not all of them, as well as that's not even considered the most important one, or not, let me not say important one, but the most challenging one. So to touch on that, there are several types of jihad out there. The first one being jihad al-nafs, which is the struggle against the self. So the eternal struggle against one's very own desires, temptations, as well as weaknesses to stay on the righteous path. This is also considered the greatest form of jihad, because if you think about it from start to end in your life, there's always going to be something you crave or something you want to do that you just you can't do. That's not permissible at all. So that's why it's like you're constantly having to abstain and remind yourself that you're just not supposed to do it at all. All right, that's why it's considered the greatest one, because it's the one that goes on forever. And then the second type of jihad is al-lisan, which is the struggle with the tongue. And I'm assuming that this is just strictly referring to what you say, how you say it, who you're saying it to. Am I going out there? Am I being disrespectful? Am I insulting anyone? Am I backbiting my fellow brothers and sisters? That's also a very dangerous one, because I feel like it's so easy to just slip off any word off the tip of your tongue, like anything. I could be sitting down right now and say something that's completely inaccurate, and I know it's inaccurate, and then that's bad because now I'm spreading false information, right? Or someone insult me and I think the best thing to do is insult them back. That's so like no. And then the third type of jihad is al-yad. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is to do with the struggle of the hand as well as actions. So your physical deeds, like however you move through life physically. Have you been performing good deeds? Have you attempted to help others and things of that nature? And then the fourth one, which is what most people associate jihad with, is al-sayf, the struggle with the sword. So this is the actual armed struggle, and it is permissible only in specific situations regarding self-defense or a fight towards combating oppression, or perhaps in times of war as well, under strict ethical guidelines, of course. So as mentioned, there are specific conditions when that armed struggle is permissible. So aside from just self-defense, it should also be taking into consideration that women, children, as well as places of worship should not be harmed and affected at all. Never ever. Because Islam, why am I saying it like that? Islam is a religion that is always going to aim to promote peace in every scenario, every single one. Thus, the Islamic institution of jihad is the least understood and the most talked about aspect in Islam in the world today. And there is a great misunderstanding amongst non-believers that the Islamic jihad is a holy war directed towards non-believers for the sole purpose of converting them into Muslims, which is far from the truth. Islam is not ever going to force anyone to do anything. Islam don't even force Muslims to force other Muslims to do something. Like if I know, like, oh, there's my Muslim brother, I know there's like, take making salah for example, that's mandatory, right? But if I know that he's not doing that, I have no right to physically go and grab him and force him to go and make salah. The best I can do is, however, encourage him, remind him, check up on him, things of that nature. But I can never ever force someone, whether they're Muslim or not. So we're going to make that one clear. So for a long time, the early Muslims suffered persecution as well as torture against the hands of the Quraysh, which is a tribe that also lived in Mecca. We'll touch on the Quraysh at a specific point, but not right now. But the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as the Muslims, never ever retaliated, simply because there was no commands from God to do so. Finally, however, when the persecution as well as the torture reached its peak, permission to fight in self-defense was granted to Muslims. Self-defense. And, the purpose of fighting was limited to establishing freedom of worship and removing oppression. So it was never ever about like, oh, let's start a war as a Muslim to gain wealth, and status and things. It was never ever out of that. It was always out of self-defense in times of war, fighting oppression or just that, honestly. So, yeah, so Muslims were strongly enjoined to spare the lives of women, children, as well as to treat prisoners of war with kindness. Because remember that there were a lot of wars going on back in the day. But even then, just because someone is a prisoner doesn't mean that they have no rights, especially in the religion of Islam. Like, slaves and prisoners have rights. Not a lot, not the best, but it's better than not having anything at all. So there's that. And that's basically the concept of jihad in Islam. So, yeah, guys, that was just the entire topic. I do, however, know that I would like to touch more on this topic in the future regarding specific battles as well. Going back to the jihad al-sayf, the physical battles and things of that nature. There's a lot out there, actual stories and perspectives and factual things that took place in these battles. So we got the battle of Badr, Uhud, the trench, as well as even the conquest of Mecca. Those are like just 4 that I can think of off rip. But I would like to like go through those stories as well. But that's like later down the line. This is all about just securing the foundation of the religion for now. But inshallah, one day. But yeah, guys, just want to say shukran again for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for liking, commenting, sharing, reposting, following, as well as subscribing to the account and channel. Until next time, assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.